Welcome back. Well, today's story is kind of interesting. Have you ever felt like you just don't belong with your friends or the people at school or, your soccer team, your basketball team, whatever? That everybody else is like looking at you like, she's strange. And strange because fill in the blank, right? Could be anything. Well, what do you do about that? And is that indeed true? Let's read today's book and find out. The Day You Begin. Written by Jacqueline Woodson. Illustrations by Rafael Lopez. Jacqueline moved to Brooklyn, New York, when she was about 7 from Greenville, South Carolina. And her family has 2 dogs, Toffee and Shadow, and a cat named Fred. Rafael Lopez's art is inspired by the murals he saw growing up in Mexico City. And he now, in addition to children's books, paints murals around the country, working with children and communities. There will be times when you walk into a room and no one there is quite like you. Maybe it will be your skin, your clothes, or the curl of your hair. There will be times when no one understands the way words curl from your mouth, the beautiful language of the country you left behind.
Mi nombre es Rigoberto. Nos acabamos de mudar aquí de Venezuela.
And because they don't understand, the classroom will fill with laughter until the teacher quiets everyone. Rigoberto, from Venezuela. Your teacher says so soft and beautifully that your name and homeland sound like flowers blooming the first bright notes of a song. There will be times when the words don't come, your own voice, once huge, now smaller, when the teacher asks, "What did you do last summer? Tell the class your story." "We went to France," Shayla says. "These shells come from a beach in Maine." A boy named Jonathan holds out a jar filled with tiny shells so fragile they look like they'll turn to dust in your own untraveled hands. "My family went to India, Spain, South Carolina." Each souvenir a small triumph of a journey. Their travels going on and on. And as you stand in front of that room, you can only remember how the heat waved as it lifted off the curb, and your days spent at home caring for your little sister, who made you laugh out loud and hugged you hard at nap time. You can only remember the books you kept on reading long after she had fallen to sleep. And in that room, where no one else is quite like you, you'll look down at your own empty hands and wonder, what good is this when other students are flying and sailing and going somewhere? There will be times when the lunch your mother packed for you is too strange or too unfamiliar for others to love as you do. When even your very own friend Nadja will wrinkle her nose and say, "What's in there anyway?" And you'll wonder how she doesn't see the rice beneath the meat and kimchi. You'll wonder why she doesn't remember that rice is the most popular food in the world. There will be times when the climbing bars are too high. The run is too fast and far. The game isn't one you can ever really play. I don't want him on our team. You can watch. Maybe you can have a turn later. There will be times when the world feels like a place that you're standing all the way outside of. And all that stands beside you is your own brave self, steady as steel and ready, even though you don't know yet what you're ready for. There will be times when you walk into a room and no one is quite like you until the day you begin. You begin to share your stories. My name is Angelina, and I spent the whole summer with my little sister. You tell the class, your voice stronger than it was a minute ago, reading books and telling stories, and even though we were right on our block, it was like we got to go everywhere. Your name is like my sister's, Rigoberto says. Her name is Angelina too. And all at once, in the room where no one else is quite like you, the world opens itself up a little wider to make some space for you. This is the day you begin to find the places inside your laughter and your lunches, your books, your travel, and your stories, where every new friend has something a little like you and something else so fabulously not quite like you at all. The end. Well, this was an interesting story, wasn't it? And okay, raise your hand if you were someone who has never felt like you didn't fit in, okay? Yeah, none of you have raised your hand, have you, right? We all have felt this way at some point or time, like, oh man, I just don't fit in here. Yeah. And do we sometimes make other people feel unwelcome? In the letter of James in the New Testament, he was writing to a church when he said, I've noticed that you seem to be showing favoritism to people. He said, if a rich person comes in with fine clothes and jewels and you say, oh, here, come sit up front here in this great seat. And if somebody who's very poor comes in and you say, okay, you can sit on the floor over there. James says, is that really what Jesus would want you to do? Paul, in his letter to the Galatians, had to remind them. There is no longer Jew or Greek. There is no longer slave or free. There is no longer male and female, for all of you are one in Christ Jesus. And if you belong to Christ, then you are Abraham's offspring, heirs according to the promise. Oop, there's that name Abraham again. If you've watched the first of the Bible shorts, you know who I'm talking about, right? So it's good to be reminded that even though it may seem like we're all very different, we are all God's children. So I'll see you next week and we'll have another cool story, okay? Bye-bye.